Is Brother Leroy somewhere around? No. Okay. Okay, let me say a few words about Dr. Blair. There was a sister that lived here in New York, and she went down to Atlanta, Georgia. And she saw this tape, and it's called Earth's Ultimate Prize. And she said, oh, you got to see this tape. This brother is bad. Oh, boy, he goes into metaphysics, and he goes into this and that. I said, oh, I got to get this. Hurry it up, send it to me. There's a group down in Atlanta called Black Media. And they sent the tape to me. And it blew me away. I said, I got to bring this man here. So I worked on it, and AIC invited him up, and that's the way it goes. And you seem to like him from January the 27th when he was here, and a lot of people didn't know he was here on the 18th and 19th of February. We also have those tapes when he did the woman lecture and he did the man lecture. So what I want you really to do is to enjoy this one today. He's going to talk about the Melanin Wars. And I want you all to stand and give him a New York, Brooklyn style welcome right here in New York. Reverend Dr. Delbert Blair.
Deal of respect for because he has a great deal of knowledge and information. In New York, there are so many people that have a great deal of knowledge and information, and that's as it should be because your population is so dense. Meaning by that, again, you've got so many boroughs and so many, you outstrip Chicago, where I come from again, almost 5 to 1, okay? At the same time, there's so much to know about melanin, so much that we must understand about self. And I understand from the 2 previous lectures that you had recently, again, Brother Bobby Hemmett, who I know very well. In fact, he's now in Detroit where I was. I set that up for him, by the way. And again, Brother Valentine, who is a local person who you've known. You have excellent researchers. In history, you have Ben Yackerman and Dr. Clark. You have a number of people. The unique thing that I try to bring is how to. If these things are effective, buddy, okay. If these things are effective, better now? Okay. Which one now? This one? Okay.
Put it on the table. It's on your jacket.
That it? Okay. To be effective, these things must be practiced. And there's so much to know because the school system that we've had in these United States has not told us the truth, has not educated us, but has trained us to stay in a perpetuated state of control. As I stated before, to be a little bit redundant, it would be folly for anyone who is ruling you and making you a slave and doesn't want you to rise up to educate you. It is ridiculous to think you can become educated in this country by going through a school system. You can become trained to fulfill a niche and a cog in a wheel, to maintain and perpetuate a system that will grind you under and your children under as it has done on infinitum. Training that is killing you, the call, and manipulate what creators will on your planet. Therefore, the time for education, any way you can get it now, is long overdue, and hopefully that's what these classes will do. The knit and grit need to survive, and better than survive, to live and live free on a planet that is beautiful. We will teach you in there why the planet got clogged over. I'll teach you again what an electromagnetic field is, what an electrical field is, and what a magnetic field is, and teach you why you are unique. You have a gift from the gods. It is called melanin. I state you have a gift from the gods. It is called melanin. For advanced beings who understand science and genetics, who understand cloning, magnetic propagations, and electrical frequencies, and understand how to radiate an entire planet, how to put up an orbiting satellite called a moon have been here. And they have set this planet up to stop anybody from getting past a certain frequency while incarnate upon it, unless they do so. This is what they have not told you. You're going to, I'm saying things now that you're going to hear them this year and on. You're going to start hearing things. You already know that there are publications coming out now that are mind-blowing. As well they should, because they have not even tried to appeal to the mind for 400 years. And if you're going back to 332 BC, when the Greeks came into Egypt and found the real magic that their cave people had told them about, then from that time on, they have sought to fight against those with melanin, because they realize that the melanin carriers have the gift from the gods. The only difference between human hemoglobin, the oxygenating corpuscle that carries life throughout your organ, throughout your organisms, throughout your glands, and plant chlorophyll, the only difference is one magnesium molecule. The brother told you well. I differ with him on one point, and I'll get to that. And as this energy comes in, per se, to a plant, the plant does what you've been taught in school, a half-truth. It becomes photosynthetic. It is able to take energy in the form of light rays, and there's 7 in one beam of light, 7 different rays, and transfer it into a usable quantity in your body and utilize the energy from it. To do so, the plant is green. In human hemoglobin, it takes the same kind of thing, light that penetrates into the cells photosynthetically, and then it transfers that oxygen through the capillaries of the lung into the body itself. And you are brown. The reason why you are brown is the gift from the gods. Because to withstand a radioactive field that was around our earth close to 2 million years ago when you were first put here. Did you hear that figure? You had to be turned jet black. That jet blackness has dissipated, and now you can still get the jet black, you can get the brown, you can get tan, you can get yellow, which is an albinism of melanin, and you can even get white, which is complete rejection of the melanin syndrome and getting used to the translucent state, which all of us did start with. We run through this in the classes in a way that you will understand it. I'm overviewing it now to tell you a little bit about melanin, since Brother Valentine already started it on that plane. I won't go into all of that because the whole thing would keep us here for literally hours upon time. We would run into tomorrow. Once the melanin had been given, the gland to continue its manufacture and usage was called the pineal gland. The pineal gland situates beneath the pituitary gland, and it swings on a little ligamentation like a pine cone. That's why they call it pineal. It looks like an inverted pine cone. It is capable, since it kind of swings and hangs, of metronomic action, back and forth, capable of vibrations and even circular oscillations. Many of you may have remembered where you have done a little trick by holding a pendant. Some of you are into crystals. You may have had a crystal at the end or a magnet there, and you hold it above one hand and you watch it, and sometimes it goes back and forth, other time it goes around in a circle. How many have ever played with that, not really knowing what you're doing, but it was like a school experiment? How many have ever done that at all? That's what I figured. You guys have a rich background. Some of you have, some of you hadn't. I will show you in the classes how you can even take that kind of energy and take it to the 9th power by just hand clasps with certain things in mind, transfers of energy from one person to another. How many of you, just to kind of show you, not to tease you, to show that there are hands-on actions here, and I do know what I'm talking about, how many remember playing as little kids? You see, because they stopped you from doing this, but you brought it over not only from Kemet, but from inside the earth when you came out. You too came from inside the earth, million years ago. But they showed you a way to survive on the surface and begin to defy surface laws. And they told you that if you could begin to stack your hands, go back in your school kid days now, you may have done that here in PS number 1 or 20 or whatever again. People begin to stack their hands, and then you put another hand, another hand, another hand, another hand, and pretty soon you got there. If you notice, athletic teams still do that. That's not a joke. That's not foolishness. That is concentrating energy so you are one. Whoa, and then you go out and you do what you got to do. And for a while, you are a god. The point is, the energy flow on the planet and the energy flow within our bodies, because of all the miseducation about what we should eat and when we should sleep and everything else, has made you go to a very low vibration. You come up to that godlike state, and what you can do after that, you can go lift a person. They do it. We do it in our classes too. Go to the four corners of a chair, whoop, the person might go up 15 feet into the air. The person is weightless under that touch when you combine your energy fields. Now we have to get way above our planetary, what they call gravitational pull, to experience weightlessness. But you can create that same type of what they call fourth heaven resonance right here on Earth. You see, heaven is not just a state of mind. It's a position on our planet where only people of certain mental consciousness can exist. And that's what they also didn't want to tell you, because this is the lowest heaven of all, horrid. Horrid. People who have melanin have been told that everything in the body is governed by the brain, and that every reaction in every system is brain governed, and that is wrong. Melanin acts independently. It is capable of instantaneous reaction to energy fields without being processed through any of the neuron synapses and dendrite stems of the brain. In other words, it acts as a chlorophyllin carrier. It takes energy, reacts to it, and processes its own information to its nearby cells. That's why you can get, again, those beautiful moves of the Michael Jordans, those cuts and so by the football players, and those immediate reactions, because you can't stop and think. They have to train people without melanin or with little melanin to react. People with melanin react anyway, because it's like what they showed on the black Buddhas. You have eyes everywhere. You are totally conscious, and you don't wait for brain processing, which slows it down. We'll prove this to you in the classes, because you can inflict pain, and if you have your mind off somewhere, it'll take sometimes up to 15 seconds before you feel the pain. And you can even delay that longer if you're trying to offset pain by merely mind control. They don't teach you, though, with melanin, you can make that instantaneous reaction, or you can delay it up to 30 seconds, or you cannot even get to feel it at all by simply using certain ways with melanin and ingesting certain foods and herbals. Melanin is a gift from the gods. With melanin, you can speed up your healing process in half. And if you really get into a strong magnetic field, nothing to do with the electricity, which hurts you in the main, you can even cut that into a third. You can see into the body without using anode-cathode ray bombardments, if you have melanin, by using magnetic fields. One of my favorite people coming in there again, Brother Lilly. Brother William Lilly, hello there. Got to say hi to you. This is a man who has helped me a great deal when I've come in here to New York. First time he's attended one of my lectures. I'm very happy about that. All the history of the gods that came from various places, advanced scientists, advanced races of all description, from lizard-looking creatures to snake-looking creatures, from little short ones to very tall ones, 30 feet tall. The bones are still on our earth to prove that they did live here at one time in physical form. All were amazed at the most advanced people in our galaxy, what they had done with a certain issue of people here by giving them melanin, the gift of the gods. That's why you're being buzzed now with all kind of UFOs. I know Bobby Hibbert talking about the mothership and so, but they got motherships of all descriptions around here, good and bad. Some you don't want to get near. Don't even want to get within 50 miles of them, if you can avoid it. And others, you want to run and embrace, and if they weren't around, you'd have been annihilated a long time ago. But we'll see about that. We're talking to break it down in our classes. Government's well aware, well aware. In fact, they've even built about 33 of them themselves, and I don't know how long, because that was last year, as they are now trying to get to the photon drive and so. But your gift is that at the highest degree of the cultivation of melanin throughout the pigments of the cells, endodermal, ectodermal, bloodstream, and so, each of those glands is then able to reach its highest vibration and loose what is called the astral body. The real mothership. As I said before in one of my lectures, and I had to do this because the brother kind of introduced it on a level that is way out esoterically, and he's right. They say all but one thing I agree with him on. So I have to now kind of change what I was going to present and back into the actual melanin wars to tie in with what he has started. When the melanin in a form of high energy yield throughout the body vibrates, every cell in every organ vibrates faster. Since melanin is also in the brain vibrates faster. And the frequencies that it can reach are astounding. They're the frequencies that let you seem to be out of your body looking down on it that they all talk about. They're the frequencies that let you sense when something's going to happen to one of your loved ones before it happens, and if it's happening, almost go crazy because you know it's happening even though you're not there. It beats any switch on EATT, Northern Telecom, or Bell Atlantic. It is your instantaneous form of communication. It is a thing that messes up your cable TV when you pass by it. It is a thing that sometimes when you get excited, again, begins to interfere with your TV patterns. And it's a thing that we just don't utilize enough. Why? Because who was going to teach it? The teachers were killed when they brought us out of Mother Africa. The teachers were killed when they attempted to do it here. And even under the Masonic Guild and the ancient ones who tried to at least serve the gods by helping the children of the gods to know who they were killed and tortured as worse as you were because they didn't want you to know who you were. They wanted to steal the planet, imprison you, and take what the gods had left. Again, I'm talking about gods, advanced scientists from many worlds watching a special project here on this planet Tierra, Shan, Sanche, all names for this little place. Melanin, when operating well, causes the pituitary gland to release hormones that they haven't even cataloged. They can't because they have no way to measure the hormonal things because they're instantaneously then and they're gone. But when they're there, they give you flashes of the cosmic universe. Intuitive flashes in full color of who you have been and what you can be. The same flashes that when you depart this body and your life passes before you, that you go through again. But did they ever teach you that you don't have to die to bring that about? That cosmic wisdom of knowing everything that your ancestors knew is yours every night when you go to sleep and between 11 and 2:30 when the melanin glands are working at its best. But you must have total darkness. That's why they give you the TVs that never go out. Last night, I was in a hotel room. My wife would tell you this. She woke up because something awakened her, and there was a beam of light on the back of my head. And she said, "What in the heck is that?" And she awakened me gently and went and covered the cable receiver, which was actually obviously not a receiver, but a cylinder on the back of my daggone head. Now, I didn't even know what hotel room I thought I was going to myself. So it's by accident that this goes to the back of my head? What was it doing with my occipital lobe where my psychic equipment is? And by now you should know I am a psychic. Okay, I do channel. but I thought I was under my own control. What the heck was messing with me then? The same thing that messes with all of us all the time when we begin to come into consciousness as to who we are and begin to not talk about it, but do it. Melanin, then, is a gift that separates you from anybody that doesn't have it. People say that black people are ugly. People say that people with melanin are really not desirable, and they're so on and so forth. Isn't that an interesting photograph? You can't see it from there, some of you, but it shows a very pale woman and a very dark woman. It's the same woman with artificial melanin and in a natural state. And the caption says, "Stay beautiful year round." Keep your melanin with you wherever you go. Be more desirable and wanted. Fulfill your wildest dreams. Wear the colors that you only dreamed of previously. But everybody hates dark people, right? The gods loved you previously pale people by giving you permanent glands and melanin capability because it understood that the planetary frequency was going to be changed by those who don't like you and wanted to see another race of their own prosper on your planet. And they beat off your overseers because it would have been total bloodshed in the cosmic universe and in this solar system to have fought them longer. And say, let them have their sway for a season. They changed a beautiful, oxygenated, and I heard what the brother said, magnetic field into an ozone-infested electromagnetic field and cut down the frequencies and then cut off your 12 basic strands of DNA and limited you to 2. And then later on even saw that that one was halved into 2 helixes. This only means this: if you understand anything about computers, anything at all about lines that carry power, if you've got 12 lines of cable bringing a current from one source to wherever you want it, and you've got one cable, one line, bringing you a current from wherever you want to you, which do you think would be more powerful? Should be more powerful if they're both of equal value. The 12. Well, you had 12 lines throughout your body bringing you 12 kinds of energy which you could utilize. And they messed with 11 of them. Cut them, and they're now what they call junk DNA. There is no such thing as junk DNA. Go back and tell your professors I told them that, and they lie. Or they're ignorant and they shouldn't be professors teaching genetics. Junk DNA are those strands that were cut, and when they weave back together again, and they're going to, you will have the power potential of 50 gods, 50 supermen, 50 atlases, and Schwarzeneggers and anything else that you want to have, because the physical body will then follow the astral, etheric, mental, causal, higher forms of energy. And all your dreams will become answered. Don't think that anybody's going to let that happen if they can stop you. And they're going to try to stop you with every means known to this planet. It is a war on. The only thing is, you only realized that there were battles. You didn't know you were in a war for this very planet. But many of you now are coming into that consciousness, as you should and must. The best from Kemet, i.e. Kubulan, is here in the United States. Survivors of those DNAs, even though you see they killed your ancestors, they couldn't kill the DNA strand that produces those kind of beings. That's why killing is such a stupid, wasteless thing. because all you do is to transform that energy into a higher form that will be able to withstand the thing that took out its ancestor, and ancestral rights go on. That's what they were trying to tell you when they said study your ancestors, because you are your ancestors. Did you hear me? You don't have to pray to your ancestors. Look at yourself. Every molecule, every DNA, everything that ever was in melanin is never forgotten and transplants itself into another body with the same memory that was locked in the first one. You just have to get the key to know who it is. That's why they don't like to take you into regressions, because all of that comes back. It still comes back sometimes with the drugs, and that's what the people who take the drugs don't understand. They get flashes of greatness without being able to maintain it, and then since they haven't raised their vibrational rate, the whole thing wears out, and you age overnight, forget what you did know even in this incarnation, become stupid and rancid, and go around having to have other people with less possible intelligence take care of you. That stupidity has got to stop. The potential when you can bring those strands back together is to do everything that the best computer, PC or mainframe, hardware or software can do, and do it 9 times better and quicker, and even have the machines fearing you as they used to. That's what the whole concept of machine Manitou that the Algonquins who used to populate your area here were afraid of. They're teaching you now of virtual reality. Virtual reality is your consciousness in just half awakened state being used, where whatever you can imagine you can bring about. That is past the virtual reality. When your melanin is functioning correctly, you can bilocate by being in consciousness one place while being in your body in another. Some people call that state now death. That is real life. That's why they used to have guardians for the body, watchers, and all kind of other terms that some of you from Louisiana, from Mississippi, from the old country, and with the teachings of the god Vaudal knew about. And that's what you used to run to those people, to bilocate and tell you what was happening and to influence your enemies. And you know your grandmothers and grandfathers talked about it, and some of you may even practice it now. But practice it in the light, in the full capacity. It is a gift from the gods. You earned it. When you don't do the drugs, and I do a lecture called Drugs and the Astral. If ever you want to get a dope head off of his drugs, teach a person with melanin who still knows that he has a soul and a spirit, and she has a soul and a spirit, that they actually can ground their soul on hell. That's the other term for earth when the non-melanin carriers came. And have to go through this 9 lifetimes to get it straight again. And if they don't believe that, ask them, what do you think they're doing with their life now, when they themselves know down deep that the days are passing by and they're going nowhere except into a total extermination of their physical body. The herbals that you take work differently because they have part of the earth in it, and part of that earth awakens the old earth people who are melanin carriers. And therefore, all of those kingdoms of the plants, the animals, the insects, the birds that fly, and everything that creeps and crawls and moves responds to that vibration because it was a vibration that they were created in also, and they look upon you as gods. Gods who don't know who they are. Inasmuch as melanin works on every part of the body and is in every cell of your body, now when the energy fields of earth change, it will begin to vibrate faster, and every part of you will begin to quicken in what it's capable of doing. The test of any kind the inoculations using basic low vibrations, food that does not have energy stored within it cannot work well for you now because you are in the process of change. I told you in a previous lecture, everybody in here this summer will get one shade darker than they are, whether you go out in the sun or not, because the light will be entering into you. The energy will come in whether you close windows or doors or not. And for those who are not used to it, it is absolutely carcinomic, leukemic death that they're asking to go out in the sun this summer. But as the melanin is stepped up, if you must go out in it, you can survive. The point is, again, it will begin to make your head feel as though it was almost wavering. And until you balance out that melanin and get the higher frequencies going, all it will do in some cases is to give headaches. Other cases to make you want to cover the head. But at night when you sleep, each night having been exposed to that, the melanin will go through a metamorphosis and you will wake up with more insight as to who you are, and certain psychic abilities will begin to form within 48 hours after that exposure. If you adapt to it, the next time out, more happens. And then the DNA and the cells will begin to come together, just like a magnet, because magnetism is what it will awaken in your body. And then they'll begin to entwine the strands little by little up to the year 1997, when all melanin carriers are supposed to have 10 of their strands back together. Then you will see the difference in having melanin and not having melanin. But time is something that you can control. You can make 1997 1996. You can make 1996 1995 if you're willing to put the discipline necessary to bring it about. I don't even know if it's good to bring it about at this time. I don't know, because it means your loved ones will think you're crazy. People will begin to fear you when things begin to move, or TVs begin to go off, or lights begin to flicker when you pass the top of your head near it, or you wake up in the middle of the night and can't sleep because visions and colors are coming to you, or you see objects in the room and you may scream, and they'll say, "My God, get rid of this food. What has happened here?" They will. Your own best friend laying next to you might put a hurt on you. You know, at the job, if suddenly when you're doing this, you suddenly say, "Who's that over there?" and nobody sees anybody. Oh yeah, human resources, if it gets that far. You know what I'm saying to you. You've already had to hide many of these tendencies, which are already happening if you're into the wuxi herb. I'm not talking about the bad stuff now. I'm talking about the natural herbals. Very heavy into those things again. You know what I'm talking about. That is that thing that these dope heads don't understand. They know they lost something. They know it puts them in a different vibrational rate, but they don't understand you can't mix it with drugs and expect it to work. You've got to discipline, and at night, between that 11 o'clock, even with your time zone change here, I guess it would still be for you about 10 o'clock and 3. That's when the melanin and the melatonin and the melanocytes vibrate through the pineal gland and go throughout your body. That's when you're supposed to have absolute darkness into your meditation. And as I stated before, never go to sleep without meditating about what you want to happen to you. Don't leave all that equipment on recording and you don't give it direction. You don't, somebody else will. Use your equipment, or your equipment will use you. It's gonna work. Let's hope that you are the one that make it work. Somebody's in your house robbing you, you don't aid them. You turn on the alarm system and work your apparatus for defense. Am I wrong in saying this? I mean, is there something I'm saying that doesn't make sense? Whether you believe it or not, at least look at the possible logic for this. Because you haven't known before who you were, but thought you were that you ought to be, you have been hated by those who weren't. I don't need to go back over there again, do I? No, I don't, because you heard it. You just want to feel good again. For too long, people have been making you feel good so that you never work at staying good, and you may be gooder than they thought, or not as good as they thought, and you're living again on the rhetoric of it. I want you to begin to work at it. I want to inspire you, but I want you to work like I must work, and everyone must work, because it's not going to just be handed over to you again. If you're not ready for it, it's just like giving a loaded gun to a 3-year-old. Enough strength to pull the trigger and not enough strength to know any of the repercussions once it's done. The government of not just the United States, but I want to stay with this one for right now because it's where we live, brought about the thing called AIDS. And I've got a whole thing on AIDS, what it is, what it isn't, and a whole tape on AIDS, the update. We're not going to go to an AIDS lecture. I'm not teasing you, as some of you, I think, have mentioned. I mentioned these things and don't go far enough. These are all separate things. This is about melanin, so I'm telling you many of the things that were done. What I'm saying to you now is this government produced AIDS. Many of you already know that. But the reason why they produced AIDS through Helen Lack, and HL was Helen Lack, V was for virus, a black woman who died of cervical cancer in 1951, and they sipped her melanated cancer cells all over, and that's why the AIDS virus had an affinity for melanin. Okay? What they wanted to do was to work on a substance called melanin, and they knew if they could attack melanin, everything else on the planet was susceptible, including the plants, because they produce melanin in the form of green chlorophyll. If you spend enough time in a cave or in a well or in darkness and you have melanin, you first will turn ashy, and then you begin to turn greenish blue. People with little melanin will turn very pale and ashy and lose the probability of melanin at all and become very pale, or albinos, cut off from the ultraviolet rays of our sun. But what they haven't told you is that Earth has another sun. Did you hear me? Deep inside the Earth is another sun which radiates and energizes plants from underneath, and melanin carries from underneath, so they can do anything they want to one sun. You can go to the other sun, so when they block out the sun soon, all that's going to do is intensify your melanin carrying ability, because the inner Earth sun, which they dare not tell you about, will still take over. Nature, through the Creator first cause pride, does not play. Knows full well what he, she is about, and knows that the order for this little planet has got to change now. AIDS was supposed to take out melanin carriers. AIDS caused your immune system to kick in even further and brought about the very thing that they didn't want. It always works like that. AIDS mutated and began to attack the very thing that they tried to get it not to do, because it met with another strand and strain and began to attack people without melanin. Whole lecture I do on melanin. The church, because in your flyer you found it said AIDS and your government, your job, your church, and you. The church people in general didn't understand this. And they began to call and say AIDS is a thing that is in His righteousness the Lord God is going to invoke to wipe out evildoers. Well, if the Lord God would just wipe out evildoers, we would be so happy, we'd be ashamed, and I'd be all for AIDS. On your job, they said, we shall not pay you because you are a walking, cancerous, potential, disease-bringing organism, and we won't be able to work because if you come around, you give us AIDS. So your money supply was threatened. Your source of income through your JOB was threatened. But notice how they've even backed off of that now. In the NBA, where they pay fabulous salary to fabulous black men, if you got one cut, your whole career was threatened. Now they put a Band-Aid on it, stop it from bleeding, and you go right back on and do what you're supposed to do. And I understand why Magic Johnson is so frustrated, because he never should have stopped playing ball anyway. He believed the lie. He believed the hypes. He believed the great white coats. Now, since the nation and others such as myself, through tapes, and I didn't talk to him directly, tapes are trying to send, people try to get to him and say, listen, brother, this is the truth. That's when he got so mad and got off all the government panels about AIDS and all the rest of the things and went on back out there now and doing his thing. They made him ashamed for being a man. And what man hasn't had 2 women at one time, even if it was only for an hour, in his mind? He didn't rape those women. Those women wanted him because he was a man, a man's man, and that's just the nature of things. Don't you also feel that way? We listen to such foolishness. In mother country, they have many wives if they can afford them and if the women want to stay there. There are places where women have many men if they want to spend their energies that way. The whole point is, let's talk about the reality of what they were saying there and not about the foolishness of what they were saying there. AIDS attacked them worse than it did us if we have melanin. And it was not why it was created. AIDS in you. You've noticed that even though you hear constantly bombarded what AIDS can do to you, there doesn't seem to be an innate fear of it. I know, because you walk around, you still kiss, you still hold, you still eat anywhere. I see the vendors up and down the street. They could all have AIDS in their foods. You don't stop to ask that, do you? You say, how much is it, and is it good? Where am I lying, folks? I don't lie. I make you think, I hope. When this deadly virus that they didn't know where it came from and they didn't know anything about, was going to wipe up half the human race and everything else again, was released, everybody refrained for sex for a while, and everybody didn't want to go to work, and they dare not get cut, and they didn't want to kiss. And then they told you, well, that's okay now. They've now done further studies, and they know that it's only sexually transferable. And again, if you watch and have safe sex by wearing some kind of protection, it's going to be all right. Well, that's not what they said to begin with. And if they didn't know what they were talking about in the beginning, why did they let loose all of this false information and scare people half to death and stress out the nervous system and the immune system and give you something else to get scared about, as though just living amongst pathological creatures isn't enough. When the body is in disharmony, anything can attack the immune system, and usually will. That's why stress is probably worse than the AIDS virus itself. And fear is worse than both of them put together. Because when you live in fear, you can't open yourself to melanated light. You can't sleep well to let the pineal gland kick in and let your immune system kick in. You can't worry because you can't feel good because you're constantly tight and worried, and stress alone will bring you any disease that you want. And in fact, if you think about and fear something long enough anyway, you will bring it to you, the very thing that you fear. Whereas love and relaxation will also bring to you, and that's what we also teach in our classes, the same thing that you want. Because whatever your mind sees and knows and you can visualize and turn that second strand to try to unite and bring about, it will come to you. Anything you want, you can have if you think about it long enough and really, really want it. You'd be surprised. We 1/2 and 1/4 want things because we don't know what we're going to do with it if we had it, because we really don't think we're ready for it, and that right there means you're not going to get it. must make a change. You must make a change because the planet is undergoing a change. And if you don't change, you will go with everybody else that the planet is now rejecting. So you must make a change to be an Earthian, a Tiarian, a Shanite. Death due to dilantin, the tip of the iceberg, also on your flyer. Dilantin, how many of you are aware of dilantin, by the way? Okay, they kind of put that undercover now. Before all state institutions in every one of the 64 principal cities in the United States that have a high melanin population were supposed to be offered again dilantin to mothers, especially who are going to give birth. The whole thing about dilantin, it cuts short the production of melanin potential in the baby by putting another foreskin or so over the womb. It would cloak it or make it more dense so it could not become photosynthetic and melanated, especially in that first trimester, which takes you away from becoming a snake person and an amphibian into becoming a more humanoid, now fit for Earth. In that first 3 months, everybody looks like a tadpole, wiggles around like some kind of a dinosaur, and can even come out at that time looking like a crocodile or something else. And then, through metamorphosis, and because the gestation period is 9, not 3, it goes through that phase, but it lets you know at one time the kind of body that you had here on this planet. Nature doesn't lie. If you're born in that first 3 months, you'd be born looking like a snake or an alligator or an amphibian. You doubt it? Go check your text out. When the womb can become full of ultraviolet light, but with the inner light particle of melanin taking in the light that comes from the earth, it balances out and the fetus develops faster, much faster, and begins to be psychic in the womb. And thus the mother and the child, and hear my woman lecture, if you haven't heard it, get the tape, set up a bond during that first trimester that will even let even a more advanced soul possibly come into that fetus before the 9 months are up. It is there that it is decided, if not at conception, what kind of a soul you'll be able to bring in. So they wanted to stop that because they were told that a very advanced being was going to come through here on Earth some kind of way through one of those kind of wombs that would set the whole thing right in 12 years. And they have been worried about that coming thing from Omen 2 and Damien 50 and Osmosis 6 and everything else, but they only hint at you. They watch the signs in the sky to see when the conjunction would be right and a harmonic convergence would come, and they tell you astrology is foolish. Then ask why every president of the United States has 3 astrologers minimum to advise him on planetary conditions and his own conditions. But they tell you it's a foolish thing, study astronomy. That's the foolish thing. Oh, I'm sorry if there are astronomers here, but tell me when I lie. Dilantin then, given to mothers, would cause them, if not to abort, to bring in less melanin-capable children because it would not let that development of the pineal gland take place. You see, at birth, you're very psychic. You spend half your time on the other side, the other vibrational plane. It would cut all that potential back, and that's why they wanted to give you dilantin. Now, of course, they will say, I am the fool, and I am the quack, but I'm not your attending physician. I am just a person trying to let you tune into the almighty attending physician and find out if what I'm saying is going to make sense to you. Are you still with me? Death due to dilantin, when actually not only the mother would die, but the fetus would die, or worse, the fetus would die and the mother would live barren. and sterile. Also why Dilantin was administered. That's not what they told you, of course. They said it was to enhance fetal capability and aid the recovery of the mother after birth of the child. But read what the reports are of mothers given Dilantin. And I wonder why, when they begin to make it an issue, they've now gone undercover with that. It's just like the silver nitrate dropped in the eyes of fetuses in state-supported hospitals, see, because you can't sue the state. So that they will not get syphilis and gonorrhea, as though all, and it's mainly minority, poor, and black women that are given this, because all of you have dirty tracts, and your baby coming down there must be protected from you that you carried already for 9 months. Why in the heck, if you had that, wouldn't the baby be already syphilitic and gonorrheic before it's time to come down the birth channel? No, that's to try to kill off and hold back that psychic development of that child coming out. And as many times, of course, now they're giving you cesarean section and giving forceps birth, which crush the occipital lobe or try to work again on that melanin carrying thing. And they always, well, that's not true, always, maybe 98%, give it more to black women than they do any other women giving birth on the planet. Ask yourself why about that, and say, if there's not a reasonable spiritual answer for that, then why should you believe anything else that they do? Our school children and Ritalin. Our school children and Ritalin. You know, minority children and black children in the main, Afro-American babies, just seem to be just precocious. They can't seem to sit still. They just can't seem to learn well. They just can't seem to be able to control their energies. They're not on the ratio of being able to learn as fast as non-black children. It's just a shame what happens to these poor melanin-carrying babies that we think so much about. At least that's what, again, the system will tell you. Must be true, because they find that the rate of hyperactivity is 3 to 1 in black babies than it is to what they call non-black babies. Or at least this is what they tell you. And so much so that since these kids cannot be controlled, they act out. I used to call it act up, but now it's act out. And they must be secured without putting handcuffs on them, so they put mental handcuffs on them. They give them what is called Ritalin for hyperactive, non-controllable young people in the public school systems in general. Ritalin calms you down. Now, how do you know the child is hyper and acting out? Because the schoolroom teacher says so. Well, it's known that black people started wars in Korea and Vietnam, Germany, and made the atomic bomb on Japan, and invented AIDS, and put chemicals in foods, and put cancer viruses into, TB inoculations, and I mean, they did all of these things. They poisoned the planet. They put artificial satellites that put radioactive beams down on the planet that it goes around. They are never hyperactive. They're already insane. So when the Ritalin capability in a poor child with melanin, a black child, when it acts out in a classroom already overfilled, with a breakfast consisting of corn flakes and sugar-coated pop-pops and everything else, or maybe worse than that, no food at all the night before or the day after, acts out, then instead of taking it for special supervision and understanding, they say, let's give it a shot of Ritalin. Let's calm it down. Sometimes, since psychiatrists are not available in most public school systems, have you seen one recently? Even a good psychologist may not be available at most public school individual teaching centers, but they have a community one that they can call on in a district to evaluate your child once it has been called hyperactive. Or if it is too much, a local nurse there sometimes is called, and either the principal makes the decision or they send it down to the principal and they'll send a note home saying your child is being suspended. And when you come for a consultation, they'll tell you your child probably should be given Ritalin. Or in the cases when it first started, without the consent of any parental spouse or guardian, Ritalin was administered at the behest of a psychologist or a practicing nurse under the direction of the principal. That is illegal. Or it used to be. They're changing the laws. New world, new laws, new order. To put the child in order, Ritalin was then given, which made the child calm down. Made the child act like Stelazine had been administered. Anybody aware of what Stelazine does? The same thing that drugs and crack cocaine does. Only that is a crack cocaine given by the allopathic pharmaceutical division of this insane society. It replaces the drugs by making you act just like you had a drug, only this time the government legally administers it. You had my inference about that too. There's another lecture I give too. In case you're not following, what I'm simply saying is this. Melanin needs a whole new way to be educated when it's in a person. The idiot and the idiocracy of teaching a child with medicine that Jock and Jane went to the store to get a pail of milk is not only ridiculous, it is dangerous, because milk is the melanin carrier's worst enemy. And water, as it's now being given, is probably the second worst enemy. And Jack and Jane are the third worst enemy. And the store should be closed. Oh, sometimes I get very neurotic. I hope you're with me in all of this. Melanin learns better in darkness at night. Sleep learning, which they're also using now in virtual reality syndrome tanks. Melanin learns better by giving the whole picture and not piecemeal. Melanin learns better when it must be made to vibrate, which means that the brain must be challenged to let it produce the various chemicals and hormones that only the pituitary gland can use when the pineal gland affects it in order to learn faster. You have the potential, when you have melanin and pituitary glands that function, of acting like a jet plane and zooming out in your consciousness. Under the present system, you are a jet plane on the ground, in the streets, wings folded back, being pushed or pulled by a stroller. Not only can you not function, you don't even function in the atmosphere that you were built to function in. You're a jet plane trying to drive in the streets of New York, and I've seen that impossibility. When you go to somebody Woods, and I won't say the first name because I'm not giving a plug and it's on being recorded, reading dynamics, you learn to speed read. And you pay all kinds of money to learn to speed read. And what's the first thing they teach you? All right, the second thing they teach you, after they teach you how much money to pay for the course. Don't go word for word. Guess. Activate your pineal gland. Scan the whole line. Guess at the conclusions. See up and down and open your mind to photosynthetic mind picturing and get to the conclusion and stop going word for word. Well, what the heck did they spend 8 years telling your children to go word for word, don't go so fast, and see Jack and Mary go buy that milk at the store that we just closed? If that was the case, why not start off when the mind is completely open for all suggestions, when every gland there is functioning at its epitome, and teach you how to speed read then? That's why the ancient Griots didn't have to have the books. They were walking legends of books, and we say we love them, but we hate what they did. Now, if we don't have something to put it on paper or a calculator to work with it, we let the best computer ever built go to waste because that's the way we've been taught. But let a brother or sister get under pressure for having to raise rent money, having to pay a bill or go to jail, lose that man or woman because the money came up, and watch the ingeniousness overnight how you can create money. I try to tell you the truth, folks. I want you to see the ridiculousness of the situation you're in so you'll change it immediately, not tomorrow, the next minute. Melanin can learn when it is activated in the brain at a rate astounding to everyone. And there is a difference between a non-melanated brain cell and brain cells that are melanated. You can put on a tape and speed it up 7 times. Rest at night in a state of meditation or go to sleep and tell yourself when you go to sleep, I'm going to learn this. And that tape will go fast and you're learning it just that fast because every word is being recorded. But the total picture is what melanin is capable of remembering and not all the words that led up to it. You get the end result by analytical computations and not by rote word for word sight reading, which slows down the whole process. They're not even teaching you to be educated. They're educating you to be stupid. Because they're not educating you. What did I tell you they were doing? They're training you. You must educate yourself now in any way possible. Ritalin is given to slow down the child, to cause dysfunction in the hormonal secretions, and make that living baby almost like an android. Ritalin was made for glaucoma. It was made to reduce the swelling behind the eyeball and the iris when persons either with sugar diabetes or other tendencies for swelling. When you have a lot of poisons, your body tries to wash away those poisons. And this is why it was first made. It was not even made to be a brain depressant and function, but that's now the way they're using it with some people's children. And they well know what I say is true, at least their white coats. What is a white coat? A doctor that we look up to puts on a white coat, and we do anything that we normally would not do to a person wearing a brown jacket. Sometimes I try to talk to you in dualities. How many just really understood what I said just now? Thank you. How many really didn't? Didn't really hear it? I mean, don't be ashamed. How many really didn't? 1 person, 2 people, 3 people, 3 persons. For those 3, let me do it again, because if 1 doesn't understand what I say, I'm not a good lecturer. You may not believe what I say, that's your privilege, but I want you to understand what I said. When a person nowadays is a medical doctor, takes the Hippocratic oath, they don't even know what the Hippocratic oath is. They use the caduceus, they don't even know what the caduceus means. Once they've been given that medical doctor thing and they've gone to school for sometimes 33 to 35 years, they have to come out and make money back that they've already spent. And they're given the privilege of putting on a white uniform and a coat that means knowledge, wisdom, spirituality, and you can place your money and your life in their hands. That is the white coat syndrome. They're respected better than any policeman, who are usually feared for their respect. Better than any minister, because the minister will save your soul, but if your body is hurting, you go to the doctor. If the doctor and the minister are one, you're blessed. Then they give you through allopathic, and this is what they're taught, that everything can be cured. No, everything can be helped by giving either surgery to cut it out or alter it or fix it, and drugs to placate it. Always placating the extremes and never getting to the source. That's why you go to them forever, or until you never exist again. Breaking it down, 3 didn't know. They will now know, they may not believe. We are so intelligent in this country that we do a very interesting practice. We let them practice upon us, for they are undergoing the practice of medicine. That's why it's hard to sue them, because they tell you in the beginning, they're practicing. They are in practice. Don't they? Where have I lied? We also, in our intelligence, go to the doctor and pay great sums of money to be helped. In ancient Kemet, Africa, Ikubu land, Ethiopia, in Asia Minor, under the Algonquin, in Kalian, American Native Indian practice, people were so uneducated that they used to pay their physicians when they were well. Now that is ignorance, that is folly, that is unheard of. Pay your physician when you're well. Oh man, the best, richest, most respected person in a village and so was a medicine person, for they kept you well. But if you got sick, you had to leave the compound, leave the village, leave the town. They not only didn't pay you, they came en masse to see why you were still there. And if you didn't get it straight real quickly, you no longer were able to practice there anyway. Because we are intelligent, we pay our doctors when we are sick in hopes that they get us well. Whereas stupid people pay their doctors when they're well in hopes that they never get sick. Now you know that is ridiculous, because it makes now allopathic practices of medicine get money when you are what? Sick. When don't they get money? When you are well. I rest my case. Do you understand now? I don't want to see those 3 hands again, because I've given you my best shot. The cancer polio vaccination. In 1963, they found that polio, poliomyelitis, and melanitis were given in certain, I forget the cities now, I used to know them, it's been a long time since I did that lecture, cities. It was administered to the general populace. It was to help cut down on polio. See, we don't even hear polio much anymore now. See, we don't hear about it too much anymore. We got other contagious diseases. But they found that in these vaccinations was, again, a cancer virus. They found that when they began to look into this, and it was asked, is that true? All they said, we didn't do it. Well, who was the we? The various departments that could have done it, that were asked, did they do it? And they say, wasn't me, boss. I know that's the wrong grace saying that. It wasn't I, sir. We didn't do it, even if it was done. They didn't say it wasn't true. They just said that they couldn't pinpoint who did it, how it got there. But the point was, It was there. Which meant that if you got polio vaccines in 1963, cancer was probable in your cells. Guess who lived in the majority of those cities where it was administered? Now, you wouldn't be able to guess about melanin like that, would you? Deeply melanated people and their children, would you? And that's when it began to raise its ugly head again in '63. What's very interesting about that whole cancer syndrome, anyway, is encapsulated in this statement. Literally, at one time in 64, 5, and through 69, almost $1 billion, I won't break down $1 billion for you, you can do that when you get home, was given across the United States for cancer research. Funds gotten by scholars and researchers to try and find the cause of cancer. Do you know they still haven't found the cause of cancer? Boy, let's see, 63, help me with mathematics, 73, 83, 93. Well, I understand back in the 30s they were researching cancer. 43? If you got $1 million a year to get your nepotistic people, friends and relatives and buddies and so on and so forth, your colleagues, to research cancer, and then you had endowments and funding set up for the next year after that, if you were still searching, and the next year after that, if you were still searching, and most of that was tax-free money, which made it $1.25 million. Do you think you'd find a cure for cancer that year? I mean, I'm just asking you as a brother to a brother, a brother to a sister, do you think, no, I know you wouldn't want to answer that, because you would find a cure for cancer because you have melanin, right? What do you say? 9 chances out of 10, you might let that go into the second year. It just makes me think that way. You know, I know I'm wrong because you guys are really spiritual people, right? But I know if they were going to double the funding and the price of inflation and cost of goods and garments were going up, you wouldn't take it to the third year of research, would you? Or if you did, you might tell your friends in your hood what to do, but do you think you'd release it to the general public and cut off your funding of $1.5 million a year? Yes, you would, wouldn't you? You would, wouldn't you? I gave you more credit than you're giving yourself for, huh? Or did I give you more credit than you should have given the people who were doing these things for? The point is this. If somebody did that heinous act in 1963, and they still have skinheads and Ku Klux Klan and you name it all going on now, why do you think that practice has stopped? Did you stop them? Did you take over? Why do you think it stopped? Because people now are better than they were in '63, aren't they? Bosnia, Herzegovina, all the other wars and rumors of wars that progress on our earth now. Man has really gotten more spiritual, hasn't he? Man may have, but human sure hasn't. You didn't hear that either, did you? Man may have, but human sure hasn't. Mankind never will. That was another lecture. Some of you came to it. The Atlanta child murders. Well, Williams is in jail, so they've stopped, right? And Williams journeyed to Orange County in Texas and did the same thing, and out to LA and did the same thing, and even into Lower Saskatchewan, Canada, in Montreal, where they have a large black population, and did the same thing, right? He must have, because all of these things went on. All you got screened was and blown up was Atlanta. But let's just deal with Atlanta. Of the 9 deaths, see, the other 3 happened after Williams was in jail. And the 32 possible deaths unrelated that happened, most of them were black boys. Black young men, prepubescent, adolescent, between the ages of 9 and 13 and a half, exceptional in consciousness, in scholastic ability, the top third of their class, usually visited by a nurse from some agency of the government prior to the happening, or at least the person was in the community. Do the research. Had already gone through all kind of tests, I won't name the different tests, you know them, and came out in a high bracket. These were intelligent, bright young people. Of the young girl, the only one that was a girl during the time when this was the criteria, the way that they found her body was awful. I'm not going to go into all those horrendous details, but I'll encapsulate it by simply saying this. She had been raped, tied to a tree, but she looked old. She didn't look like the little 8-year-old girl, or 9, I forget which, that she was supposed to be. She looked much older. The signs of age were on her torso, and especially her face. The boys, except for one, had the tips of their penises cut off. Some of you have heard this, right? How many of you heard this before? Raise your hand. I'm not lying about it. But why didn't the press bring all of that out? Huh? Why didn't they also tell you that in 2, there seems to have been a perforation through the medulla stem, and fluid had been extracted, and it made them look old because they had had pineal extractions over a period of time. And I hate to think about the hell that those kids went through. Just because that type of melanated pineal fluid, according to Dick Gregory, at one time sold for $1 million a half a pint, wouldn't have any possibility of being the reason why that happened, would it? That when you can get pure melanin extracted from the pineal gland, injected into people with degenerative diseases, pain, suffering, cancers, I assume AIDS and any other degenerative diseases, you get, if not immediate, 48-hour relief for about 20 days, and then it wears off. And somebody was rich in pain with arthritis and gout and rheumatism and cancer and every other degenerative disease, they wouldn't pay any kind of money for relief from that, and their relatives and friends wouldn't either, would they? Paraplegic, people wounded in battle, severe burns that won't heal, lesions that won't heal, given help and taken out of pain for a little while, and sometimes even total recuperation when they're given extract after extract over a period of time. They wouldn't pay any kind of money for that, would they? Nobody saw the movie Coma, did they? No. No. We don't believe what the movies say because we like to be horrified. Right? And to be horrified, we must go to a movie, right? Well, your life is a movie, folks, and it's a one big horror if you don't understand the potential of people who don't like you and who envy you because of the melanin that can be given. I'm not saying that's why all of it was done, but it's interesting that the Center for Disease Control was one of the best researchers into antiviral reactions and potentials, and they're located right there in Atlanta. And after Williams was in jail, it still went on. Blood viruses, and our babies drinking radiated milk. Some of you heard the last time I was on WWRL, I talked about osmotic action. How many heard that show? Okay, not enough to not have to go over it again. When you eat red meat, you're in general taking in uric acid and blood. Uric acid and blood is what makes the gravy for the red meat. What they call osmotic action is when the beast that you're eating dies, all of the putrefactive bacteria, including those that may be cancerous, come out of the intestines, especially the lumen and the colon, and begin to diffuse by eating their way out of the tissues and going into the blood supply. Those who eat chitterlings understand that well, though. Those of you who don't know where chitterlings are, good. Let it rest in peace, not pieces. When this vermin, this putrefacted bacteria that causes fecal material to stink, comes into the system, it also gets into the blood, and it causes the flesh to age. Aged meat is what is preferred because it's tender without putting tenderizer on it. Aged steak is a preferred rite of passage for those who like that kind of thing. Rare steak au jus means that you are a steak connoisseur. You have to be taught that. It means you don't cook the meat well, you taste it, so it's tasty. And of course, it has blood in it, so it's best for you. Au jus is the blood with a little seasoning and spice to make it palatable. And many people say, that's the way to eat steak because boss told me that. And I know that's the only way to eat my steak. Most black people, and if you're Cajun and all this, you know this, they blacken their food. They'll charcoal, they'll make it almost as bad as the other way, trying to cook it so they can't see that it's meat. They're disguising the taste. That's why barbecue sells. Take the sauce of it, you wouldn't eat any of it. Because sometimes the meat's even tough, and you know it, and you don't want to tell your friends because you want to hurt their feeling when they cooked it. When I eat meat, I put more ketchup on it than I know of, and that's why little by little I'm getting away from eating meat, because I can't take the taste. And if you give it to me rare, I'll never eat another piece of meat. I don't care how lack of discipline I might have, and that's all it's showing, is a lack of discipline. But what you're eating then is the blood of the beast with the putrefacted bacteria in it through what they call osmotic action. Go home and look up osmotic action, and you see everything I told you where I broke it down has been true. So you're drinking the blood of the beast, which lowers your vibration, gives you whatever viruses were in his intestines or her intestines, and causes you then to be susceptible to viruses. But worse than that, we go around drinking the milk of those very beasts rather than to breastfeed because we don't have time, or we let those beautiful white coats tell us that we cannot breastfeed because our milk is impure. And plus the fact, so many manufacturing companies are ready to assist you with formulas for your melanin-carrying pineal brat, your baby, that you better take it quick and get away from what the Creator given you, even though you are a spiritual person. Well, now they even feed the cows irradiated yeast, so that the radiation is now in the very blood and the milk that you now drink when you drink the cow's milk, especially when you don't put the oxygen formulas into it. The blood viruses are coming from a lower phylum which we're ingesting like mad, or the serum from their pus and their cuts, which is in serum inoculations, or from other people who are infested when they take it and give it back to you, because the key that they're teaching you now is the way to become immune to something is to take the worst pus from it, deactivate it, whatever that means, Put it into your blood so that your immune system, your bone marrow, your thymus gland will begin to fight it, and therefore you won't get it. How? Unthinking must you be to believe that. I'm in a church. I will respect it. Daggone fools. How many didn't understand what I just said again that time now? Even when I'm breaking it down, how many really didn't understand what I just said? Thank you. Thank you. You have wisdom. Toxic waste in your food and cosmetics. Living up to the flyer. This is the version I had, the Melanin Wars. I'm giving you everything I told you I was going to give you, plus more. Don't come back and say, he didn't tell it down, he didn't break it down. That's the ones who get the second-hand opinion of it. You were here. Anybody ever heard of Chernobyl? What part of the Bronx or the boroughs is that? Can you tell me? Chernobyl. Is that near east or west? I mean, I don't know New York too well. Where is Chernobyl? Somebody tell me. Anybody ever heard of Chernobyl? What part of the Bronx or the boroughs is that? Can you tell me? Chernobyl. Is that near east or west? I mean, I don't know New York too well. Where is Chernobyl? Somebody tell me. Oh, Russian population in New York. Around the UN. And in the National Guard. Huh? You didn't hear that either, did you? The truth will be in your street when you act out. They can't even speak your language, right? Oh, that's where the Russian population is now. They know them have to fight, they can come over here and fight. Now, I mean, no, that's not. That's a whole different thing. That's new world, new laws, new order. Now, we have Vietnam as testing things on every phylum known on Earth, from plant through man, to find out what would work and what wouldn't work. In the meantime, they're getting rid of the roaches in the woodwork you call melon-carrying people. You understand what I'm saying? If you don't read the book, A Higher Form of Killing, they put you in tents. The catch is simply this. You have been wrongly taught what oxygen is. They didn't even give you the right valence number for oxygen. You've been told that oxygen is O2. It is not. It is O1. When ultraviolet light acts upon it, it becomes O2. When ultraviolet light and the radiant energy from the inner sun in the form of osmosis, of moisture and energy from the earth acts upon it, it forms O3 or ozone. Ozone is present when hydrocarbon emissions and anaerobic bacteria are present in the air. It is a cleanser and nullifying it, killing them off, converting back to O2, and that's what you think oxygen actually is. So when you see ozone, know that there is something there that needs to be cleansed, and that's what gives a beautiful bluish cast to your skies. I said bluish, not Jewish. Get it straight. Melanin takes on colors, whatever is exposed to whatever elements and vibrations are in that area, whether it be green, blue, yellow, brown, whatever. And ozone is present when there's a need to cleanse those things so that melanin people, spiritual people, vibratory people, photosynthetic people, higher conscious vibration people, 7 spectrum people need to live free and understand, and that's when it is produced. The hole in the ozone brings forth the light from beyond the sun, from the wonderful place called Sirius, and I'm sure my brother Hibbert put that on you tight, and the parent ray then can come in there and begin to illuminate, make those 12 strands come together, make your melanin kick in then to take in and cause all cells to be photosynthetic, and disease ends on the spot. Since the planet is now doing that, they tell you the hole in the ozone is going to kill you. You better say, bring it on. Folks, I fulfilled my verbal contract with Bert as of tonight. I have no further contract with the House of the Lord Church as of tonight. I have no further contract with you.
My name is Shirley Cole. I just want to know.
Get there, and why did her friend say she had been under a doctor's care? If a doctor has not diagnosed that kind of thing in her body, then something is wrong with the doctor. If the doctor had seen to it that it was put in her body, something is wrong with the doctor. And if something else that she had been exposed to did it, we all better find out very quickly how that happened. Quite obviously, this woman was very sick, and it should have been detected long before it. My feeling is, with all the radioactive things that they have now, any one of which could have caused that. I say again, choose your doctors carefully. Choose who you expose your life and your children's life to carefully. I'm not saying all doctors are bad, but I'm saying you better choose them carefully. Okay? Welcome.
Okay. I have 2 quick questions, and you can make a simple statement on each. I realize that there are questions that involve some depth of answer. One, in regards to what you said, you spoke on earlier about the ability for melanin people, you can't hear me? Melanin people to be able to project their thoughts into the environment and create what they think. Is attracting your thoughts a predisposition to that state? And if so, what is the state when people attract their thoughts and then there's a dissipation of thought at the last moment? It's something that I've been observing in the environment where people will think that they want to do something. Everything will set up so that they can do that. There may be some people in the audience experiencing that, and then at the last moment, it does not come into fruition. And if you could make some statements on manic depressive disorder.
You asked a lot. I don't know about the last part. That would take a long time about manic depressive. So, in general, in metaphysics, we are taught thoughts are things. That in order for you to generate a thought, you must first think about it and picture it. Consequently, the energy that it takes to form that thought is the same energy that it takes to bring it about. Our planet is presently beginning to produce a different kind of energy. It's an energy that was here before, but was taken away. That energy will help to enhance your thoughts, help to increase your memory, help to make your body richer, so on and so forth. The antithesis, the other side of that is it will destroy if you cannot take in this new vibration, this new ray that's coming in. Melanin has an adaptable quality that can almost take to anything that is generated on our planet if given time. Because it is photosynthetic, it is from the Creator himself or herself, whichever. As a consequence, we now are speeding up in our vibrations. Our helixes are beginning to attract those strands I told you about, and we're beginning to increase our consciousness, our sixth sense, our immune systems, and every other system that is physical, because mentally now we are going to enter into a new vibration. There's also a battle going on, and anything that will help you to do it, they don't want you to be exposed to, because it is now not a question of can you adapt, it's a question of adapt or die. Therefore, the battle is on. People forget because they can't remember. That's oversimplistic, but it's a truism. They forget because they can't connect with the program that's been stored in one of those neuron centers that was previously recorded. And when you start to do it, because of the low vibrations of the planet and all the drugs in the cans and all the drugs in the air and everything else, you begin to get pressure so you can't remember. And then you utter the fatal statement, I can't remember. I forget. I don't know. When those are negative vibration, they stop the mental picture that shows you where the program is stored from happening, and that's why, again, as I say, we've been slowed down in our vibrations. Okay? Don't have time for the manic depressants and so on like that, but they're usually brought on by drugs and by low vibrations. That's why they want to stack you up on each other. That's why they don't want to give you a lot of air and oxygen and space. They want to give you time away from 9 to 5 to think and relax, to cause your system to stop that tenseness and let the flow go in, because everything that is good flows. It doesn't bombard, it flows. That's why they don't want you to think. That's why I will help to do the thinking for you. And then you will find time, because once you start thinking that you deserve this time, you'll be surprised how those job situations change. You're not only given time, but you're given support. You don't believe that yet, but try it. You might like it. That's what positive thinking is all about. I call it sometimes magnetic negative thinking. Same difference.
Good evening, Dr. Blair. First, I want to say thank you, because Reverend Coleman is my
Reverend Coleman?
Yes, you know, she teaches the Metaphysician.
In Chicago?
Right.
Oh yes, the biggest church in Chicago.
Right, and the learning of the 12 powers of men. I felt very happy when you spoke of that. Now, I'm a twin. I have a twin brother, but there are times when I think, like, I don't live there, I live here. But it's like we're there, I'm with him without being with him. So my question is, can we still have the communication, even though I'm as far as I am from him, and we're on different planes, working on different subjects matter? And the other thing I want to ask you...
Well, why don't you hold the other thing, let me speak the first thing quickly. I might forget the second thing. Melanin might not kick in well. Okay? Been thoroughly exhausted. Twins share the same womb, conceived at the same time. The egg splits and two are formed. It is twins and identical twins that the governments of the world are now trying to put under laboratory conditions to get up what they call natural psychics. Not only are they able to communicate, but they have a stronger degree of extrasensory perception and even molecular movements. You've got right over here in Jersey a molecular research, biological, and immune enhancing station right by 2 parabolic dishes, and you guys don't even understand what that can possibly mean. Okay? If you remember, Newark not too long ago had a few problems itself. All right? What I'm simply saying is this: identical twins probably are better symbiotic, having a lot in common, so any of the things of communication on the psychic planes would automatically happen. They've already used these kind of people in espionage, in some of the ships that they sent to the moon when the aliens helped them get there, and all kind of planet-to-planet communications. You think I'm crazy? Read something about the Montauk Project right out here at Montauk, Long Island. Read about the Philadelphia experiment way back in 1943, and read why, again, every time they wanted to communicate, they used black people to communicate with from space first, testing it out on these aboriginals who knew and detected they were there, and then they began to use it through modulation and moderation and drugs on the Caucasian participants in those pilot products. Twins always have a lot in common. When separate, they always can communicate faster. The point is, you do it by relaxing and getting the picture, and you do it at certain times of the day when your body clocks or have more biorhythm. They don't teach you any of that, and I don't think I have to tell you why after tonight's lecture. You had a second part.
The second part is, do you feel that there was a conspiracy to kill Bruce Lee because of his not knowing how to push a person 6 feet away with his fingers?
Bruce Lee used the psychic fist, and I think you explained it very well. We have been taught all of the human striking potentials of every art and science on this planet. Everything they teach us is physical. We are more than the physical. I don't mean the pie in the sky and this kind of thing. We are more than physical. No physical action can happen without the thought of that physical action first having been conceived. So why go with that is the result of it rather than the result of the thing that causes it? And all the training in the martial arts that I understand is always to previously think a thing, to react to it, previously know what to do, so you don't think about it, you just do it. And you go through all those pages of repetition till it comes to be second nature. He was showing the ability to project the etheric body, which means he has to raise himself to the astral consciousness and still remain in the physical body. That was not to be taught, as the Shogun priest taught, to any of the so-called outsiders or to humans. He did it for money, he got his results. Yes?
I enjoyed your talk very, very much. I enjoyed your talk very much, and I actually have 3 questions, but I'll start. The first one is, it's a statement and a question, that many melanin-dominant people have been taught that all power lies outside themselves, and that's been deliberately taught, and that anything that's really powerful is sort of inferred that it belongs to the devil and not to God, and how to best bring this kind of message to the people who really need to hear it the most, because they've been taught so much to abhor the melanin in their skin. That's one question.
Hold the other 2, please. Thank you for the compliment to start with. Your being here appreciates that, and I appreciate you for being here. In general, if we would teach our children, because they tell me the children are born from a parent, whether they act like it or not. They were a parent at the time, apparently. If they are, then if we would teach from the divine inner thought at the beginning, first through breastfeeding, which bonds and lets you get hold of that child soul, and then through example, which gives them something to look up to, no matter what they were then trained to have, the foundation would have been laid in the womb, at conception, and during the time when we had them. We get them and try to take over once all of the other opportunities have been passed, because we were not told what a soul coming in is. We were not told about our previous existences, and we were not told that we're in a melanin war. If we acted on a war potential, we would do better with our own children before they could take them away from us mentally. You still can regain those children at night when they sleep if you go back to understanding what true magic is and not the foolishness that they're teaching you through the illusionists. Okay? You still can reach them. We're just going about it the wrong way. And as long as you begin to not go within yourself and ask for help and believe that the divine creator knows more than any fool, man, human on earth, then you will go by those things that don't work, and you shouldn't even try something that doesn't work more than once. First time, shame on them. Second time, shame on you. You have control. You need to go amongst yourselves and understand how that control has been exercised in the past. It's through mind control at night when a person has no defense, and if they have your blood, they'll listen to anything you say. All right, now, what are the next 2?
The other question is, I think you said that the people who have melanin can survive the cataclysmic earth changes that are predicted, eminently predicted. And my question is, I feel frightened, and that's the statement, I feel frightened about how long it would take to adapt to these changes. And the other question, part of that question is... No. Do you know of any other place where we will also survive? Okay,
that would bring on a whole lecture within itself. Okay, in answer to the statement you made and the question that came in after your statement again, melanin will not save you from death. Melanin offers you a way to communicate with the gods that gave it to you, and they can take you away from the planet for a time while the death issue goes on. Melanin may also, if that is not capable, give you a forewarning when something is going to happen, like it does to all creatures. We just don't listen to it. Therefore, you may be able to go from place to place if human doesn't stop you, okay, to avoid natural catastrophes, because nature always warns first. Man strikes without warning. Nature warns you 3 times minimum. Things come in 3s. Consequently, if we can get back again to using the abilities we already have, then more things are given. You don't use it, you will lose it. Okay, last part, please.
And the last question is that there are a number of people in a movement called Ascension. And there is a movement called
called Ascension that it involves people of all persuasions and varying degrees of melanin. So I wondered if you would comment about that.
Well, I'm not aware too much of just the movement called Ascension. I am aware of those who relate to the Ascended Masters and many religious and spiritual groups. I am aware to those who feel that they can ascend, that they can evolve upward as they devolve downward, but I can't speak to something that I'm not particularly sure until you give me more the reasons for it. I think we all are in the process of ascending because our planet is going from a third dimensional entity into a fourth dimensional entity, which means also that we can now even have some who may even make the jump to the fifth dimension. Consequently, I think in that sense we all are ascending. The particular movement, and so I can't speak of because I'm not sure what you mean.
Thank you. I'm not.
You're welcome.
But I'd be delighted to study with you since I've come this far. If you have any more forms, that
the forms are all gone.
They're in the
Maybe she has some left in the back. If not, we can mail them to you. The point is, again, if you're enough registered, you'll be contacted to where they'll be held anyway. We have to have at least our 50 people tonight. Okay? Thank you.
Good evening, Dr. Blair. My name is Hafiz. First off, I'd like to say I respect you a great deal for taking on the disciplines that you have to bring you to this point to be able to exploit these truths that you have tonight.
Well, I thank you. I don't know if I deserve all of that, but I appreciate your saying it to me. Everybody wants to hear something good.
My first question pertains to my 6-month-old daughter, who for the past few months has been regurgitating various formulas. She was being breastfed by her mother for about 3 months. She had been tested prior to, during her pregnancy for carrying TB germ. Thus far, when she came to New York, they told her that she would have to get back on the medication, which would not allow her to breastfeed any longer. So she stopped breastfeeding. We got on the Similac. She's had no reactions to that, as well as the Infamil, and now we're at the soy. How can we detox her, and what would be the best thing in this developmental stage of her life?
Okay, let me say first of all, I give consultations, right? What you're asking should be best formed in a consultation. I am not a medical doctor.
Okay.
PhD history, Doctor of Divinity. I am a health researcher for 26 years, working with some of the best, Dr. Fulton and so on like that. And there are other people who I know who will advise me, and I also believe in meditation and going from within. Those are my sources. I have consultations planned. Right now, I'm in New Jersey, and I don't know how many people could make it to New Jersey. I'm here for one more day. I've had a lot of people who already want consultations. I'm at the days in there, and if you want further, if you can get out there tomorrow, then I would say to check the sheet in the back and let her know again. If I would give you some kind of prognosis on that specific thing, I could be jailed, especially when I did it in a public forum without more information and going to my cohorts. Consequently, it's something that I must ask you to do on an individual basis. I can say collectively this. I believe that the Creator is wise enough to give a woman milk to feed her young, as all species mammalian feed their young from their mother, and they do not go to other phylums to feed them. If you can begin to enhance your system by cleaning it up and having the faith in watching the results of your child before it is tampered with, I think you'll find that the two seem to bond together even in 1994. I would always be reluctant to do anything artificial if there was a wholesome, natural way to do it. But then I'm a God-fearing spiritual man. Thank you.
We're going to have to ask another participant to limit themselves to one question, of course, we're running out of time.
Good evening, Dr. Blair.
Good evening.
We speak about oxygenation. I'm quite clear on that. I'd like you to clarify the good and bad of free radicals and antioxidants, if you could.
Free radicals are any cell that undergoes the loss of one electron. Our cells are constantly in a state of taking in energy, giving off energy, living and dying, deteriorating. They deteriorate to the degree that they're overused without proper nutrition or balances and checks. When one of these molecules or so loses an electron, it tries to know that it's going to live because it knows that its death is imminent. So like anything else trying to survive, it will be attracted to those paired electrons in a normal cell. It attaches to them on its way out and causes what is called cross-linking or vamping on cells that are stable. As you know, the making of the atomic bomb is to make an unstable molecule, and then pretty soon the thing may explode. Antioxidant enzymes, really I wish they had not named it that way, but they did. And it is only a way of producing an enzyme, a life force, a God-carrying spiritual enzyme in there, which will stop the process of oxidation or losing oxygen without proper replacement from happening. These antioxidant enzymes are scavengers which find these cells without the pair electrons, surround them, send out a sound to the immune system, the bone marrow, the glycophages, the macrophages, the leukocytes, to come here and fight this enemy or else even dissolve it. For every cell that is lost when a person is balanced, there is a cell that is created, and therefore life goes on. With all of the things from electronic smog and diseases to all the things we talked about tonight, we didn't even hit half of them again. This process is being slowed down. These antioxidant enzymes will help to get rid of those cells before they can become cancerous, detrimental to the system. As we speed up, and I must make this very clear because I don't think some of you understand this, if you take the oxygenating products, it will help your cells to work faster. There's nothing wrong with that. The point is, if they work faster, they will throw off poisons faster and may produce more free radicals, which if you take enough of the antioxidant enzymes, the pycnogenol, the BioGuard, things like this, you can still offset that. The good is worth it, but understand the discipline is that you must also then clean up the system as fast because these cells are only doing what they're supposed to do. Take in life, give off death. Don't fault them for what they're doing, fault yourself if you don't use the wisdom to take the complete line of products and so on. Okay? Thank you.
Good evening, Dr. Blair.
Good evening.
All of us who are children of the 40s and 50s and even 60s had our tonsils taken out. Is there a deeper meaning to that?
I think, was that the question? I think so, and you open up a Pandora's box, which I will not make the whole box, I'll just address what you actually asked. I compare that to, in an interview, understand boilers or so. If you have a heating unit in your basement of your building, or your home, or wherever you live, and you have a safety shunt valve on that, or a pressure release valve, or pressure showing valve, when that pressure builds up in your boiler, the valve may loose what they call a shunt. It will cut off, or automatic cut off, all kind of fuel from being, and oxygen from being given to that system, which will bank your heating system. Now, when that pressure release valve works, you don't go down with a sledgehammer and knock it off the top of the tank, do you? You don't do that because then the pressure will continue to build up until there is an explosion or worse. Consequently, the tonsils, like the appendix, only show when too many poisons are accumulating in the top part of your body or when too many poisons are accumulating in the lower part of the body. So when the tonsils begin to cause the palate to fall, we teach these in the classes, I'm going into the classes now, to fall over the esophagus and trachea here in the body, and you try to eat, you get a sore throat. If you continue to try to do it, the poisons begin to swell up on the thyroid or parathyroid glands per se, and you get worse than the sore throat. You may even get a goiter. It's not just brought on by the lack of iodine, by the way. When this happens, you cannot eat. And so, therefore, the throat is sore, so then they take and cut it out. You cut it out because it's doing what it's supposed to do. Tells you to change your diet, get rid of the poisons, and stop eating. Go on a fast. So it's as silly to knock the shunt valve and gauge off of a boiler as it is to remove that. clean up your act, it'll go down, you'll have no pain in most cases, especially when it's young, but most of the glands are operating correctly. It's operating correctly. The person isn't. Welcome.
Thank you, Dr. Blair. I enjoyed the session tonight. My
Thank
name
you.
is Donna Cobb. I have one question. I would like to clear about the fact that you said this summer the beach gets shade darker, and that can be very helpful. Could you explain that a little more?
Well, as we all know, dark people can tan. The melanin is called to the skin to fight all of these long parent rays that are now coming in. Therefore, the skin will get a little thicker and darker. Consequently, when this happens, you will have more melanin in an activated state. It behooves us to make that melanin of a good clear form, and of a good healthy form. The parent rays are going to come in no matter what anybody on this planet does, because it is coming from a sun that controls our sun. Consequently, this summer, when we go out into the ultraviolet light, for some people, it will seem like the warmest summer ever, or the most radiant summer ever, even though the temperatures may still stay within the 80, 90, 95, 100 degree era, per se. It is because the intensity, the vibration of the rays coming in from our sun now are different. What they will tell you is that the ultraviolet radiant energy, which is very harmful, and you need to wear your blue blockers and all this kind of thing, is coming in. You block the blue, you block the ultraviolet, that's the thing that you need with melanin to produce your own ozone, to produce your own hydrogen peroxide, and so on and so forth. You don't have to block those rays. What you need to do is to shade yourself from some of the sun that will also activate the pineal gland, which will make you sometimes have heat strokes, or you feel a lot of energy there too. Meditation, healthful fruits and vegetable juices, oxygen products, all these things will help to take in those rays, because you are a child of the Creator. Fight it, and you burn, get leukemia and melanocytes, or again, what we call cancerous growth. Go with it, the tanning won't even harm you, the clothes look better on you, and you'll still be living as a child of the Creator. One, okay. Good evening.
The question I have is in reference to your last lectures. Visits for the Ladies is one of the books you mentioned, but you never mentioned the author.
What is the name? What's the name you said the book I said?
Visits from the Ladies.
That wasn't, well, if I said that, I didn't mean to say it. I don't know of a book called Visitors from the Ladies.
Something you were shown, it had pictures in it. This is...
Okay, that's the one with Billy Meyer and the Palladian. Okay, all right, maybe that is the call of it. I called it, there's another one again, it's 1 and 2 of those books. At any rate, that is the Billy Meyer Chronicles. And what were you asking me about it now?
Visitors from the Palladian.
Oh, okay, now what were you asking me, what's in the book?
Who's the name of the author? Because you didn't mention it.
Oh, I don't remember firsthand. I had the book with me then, I don't have it with me now. But it is part of the thing on Billy Meyer. Most of your bookstores will have an ISBN chronicle number that relates to the Billy Meyer Chronicles again. I call it Palladian 1, Palladian 2. If you ask about that by title, they can probably give you the author. It's really edited by a number of people. It was put out, first of all, by, in Japan, a publishing company there, and I'm just not aware of the author right now.
I've tried that and I got no response.
Well, I tell you what, if you phone me in Chicago, I have the book, I'll pull it out and read it off to you, okay? All right, thank you.
I just wanted to ask, you mentioned about dilatation in terms of pregnant women, and I wanted to know about seizures. What effect does it have when you give it to an older man for seizures?
You see, I cannot answer that because I am not aware of all of the ways that Dilantin can affect older people, elderly people, or male people. It was used and began to produce generally bad results with younger women of childbearing age. So I can't really answer all of that. All I know is it was designed No, I'm saying that was Ritalin. I'm not really sure. I can't really answer that.
Okay.
Too many postulates there that I don't have answers for.
And what about melatonin by cows? What effect does that have on people?
Melatonin by cows, cow extraction? Okay, now you said cows, C-O-W-S?
K-A-L.
Calves. Oh, baby cows.
K-A-L.
Oh, cow. Oh, okay. I'm really not sure what melatonin by a cow, one of the many producers of melanated products. They even have, if I'm not mistaken, a glandular, pineal glandular extract again per se. I can't tell you particularly brand name what it is. All what they would call cytotropic extracts, and that's what that would be considered, are supposed to be state regulated, Federal Drug Administration regulated, and so on and so forth. I can only say as to that degree, possibly that's what they do. One thing is for sure, we eat meat, and if we eat meat, we also sometimes eat glands. And it's one thing to eat the gland au jus, another thing to eat the gland when it's had most of the poisons removed. I cannot speak about Cal because I'm not sure what their product will consist of when it does use the melanin.
The last question.
Leaving.
I'd like to know what the original purpose was for the study of alchemy for the Europeans baptized into chemistry, and is there a correlation with that study and melanin today? We had mentioned previously also that.
Okay, again, the course. This is why now it's getting down to maybe a few lectures once a month, but it's really time to study a course now to dig into these things. If we're going with the Kemetic, alchemic, Moorish, Nubian type of concept, the alchemy was that you would take both the vibrations from the air, the vibrations from land, the vibrations from the roots of plants, and the vibrations from the leaves of plants, and you'd have all of the 7 light rays present. That anything then decocted, infused, or taken from this kind of symbiosis, this kind of measurement, could help to maintain all 7 of our bodies. The key was that we had 5 other bodies, 5 other chakras, 5 other dimensions, which we could also go into us, but made us more than mortal, more than the planetary individuals, and made us again as the gods. Those keys to activate those are where they begin to hide it in the lost keys of the 12 kingdoms and so on like this. Pardon? Well, the Kabbalah. There are many who say, and I don't know why I'm even going to say this, but I will, that the actual Kabbalah in the diagram of the tree of life is nothing but a melanin molecule under its hyperboric state. That's as much as I say about it. I think I've said a lot.
Let's get Dr. Blair.
Dr. Blair, I want you to sign my list down there on AIC's list. If you want to be on our mailing list, we have many more speakers that are coming in, and I want you all to know about them too. You want to know about them. Thank you.
What do you mind? Don't forget this Saturday, after our quarter.
Okay, now we just finished the question. That wasn't fair.
Thank you.